Hi, morning. It's Nick, as you can see. I've done lots of updates actually on life with fibromyalgia, and generally I delete them, and I found it really difficult to write as prolifically as I used to and to share as prolifically as I used to. And I think that is actually down to the fibromyalgia, and it's for more than one reason. I think one, I spend most of my life, or it seems, I spend a lot of my life in complete overwhelm. And my daily focus is keeping my life as simple as possible. The second reason is that I no longer, at this present moment in time, have any real confidence that what I have to say or write is of meaning or valuable. And when I do post something, when I'm in a moment of inspiration or confidence, usually about 24 hours later, I'll probably go and delete it, because I just think that I'm just waffling and I'm full of shit, and it's not of help to anybody. And I think they're the two main reasons. But and a third reason actually, which was something that became obvious to me yesterday. I was seeing a really nice chap, a knee orthopedic consultant, about I have a small piece of torn cartilage in my knee. But the thing with fibromyalgia is, I don't know if other people find this, but all of my joints hurt pretty much all of the time. And it is the biggest thing that actually interrupts my sleep at night. So I'm a bit confused as to whether I've actually genuinely damaged one of my knees, which is more painful, or whether it is just the fibromyalgia. So they're going to do another MRI scan just to see whether the tear is still stable or not. But when he asked about my change in circumstances relative to my health, and I said, I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, there was, I wouldn't say that he dismissed it, because he's just not that type of a guy. He's somebody I like very much. I like his energy. I like the way he treats. I like his attitude towards his specialism. But just because they don't know what to say, because they don't really understand it, because it's so all-encompassing and nuanced and personal. It's like, saying you've got menopausal symptoms. People kind of dismisses the wrong word, I think, but it doesn't land. There isn't a real understanding of actually how that manifests in people's lives. And I think, as with all, and again, I struggle to use this word, invisible disability, which is what fibromyalgia is, because I don't want to victimize myself. And I'm already catching myself there saying, but, having a disability doesn't mean you have to be a victim. We can use that to do some good with it, and to show that disabilities don't have to stop us being who we are. But I think, unlike a more visible disability, the onus is constantly on us to explain it to others. And that can be really uncomfortable for me, because I don't constantly want to talk about the negative impact it has. Now, there are some upsides, not many, but, in trying to have this growth mindset and kind of rise to the challenge of it. But honestly, today, and I guess that's why I'm sharing, and I'll probably delete this, so will anybody see it? I don't know. I'm not sure what those upsides are. So if you're watching this, you probably know what fibromyalgia is, but just in case this is something you're new to, it is basically a massively oversensitized nervous system that is sending signals to our body, telling us we're in pain as our warning system, when there is no biological reason for us to actually be in pain. So my understanding is that the root cause, the thing to focus on here, is how we can regulate our nervous systems. And I think that is becoming increasingly difficult when we live in a world which is actually pretty unsafe. So one of the things I used to do a lot of was reading and educating myself and really understanding what's going on in the world, not just taking the headlines, which is usually bullshit, quite frankly, and using, my gift as a writer. I can, write and research pretty well to try and make some sense of it and share. And even that is something that I don't seem to be able to cope with. So I'm so sensitized to anything that I feel completely overwhelmed, and it can really steal joy from your life. And I think there's a beautiful quote, I think it was Desmond Tutu who said it, about the key is how we can see the light in the world when there is so much darkness. Apologies if I've got the quote wrong or attributed it to the wrong person. And I think for me, that is something I'm really struggling with of late, is how to stay mentally on an even keel and emotionally on an even keel, when actually I am seeing and living in a world which is fundamentally unsafe. So the key thing for me suffering from fibromyalgia is, if I feel unsafe, my symptoms get really bad. I get an awful lot of pain. My head feels like it's about to explode. Migraines come on. I get a real tension in my neck and shoulders. My knees will be throbbing. My elbows will be throbbing. The cramps in my hands are really bad. And I get a lot of burning sensations in my arms. And I actually physically have to lie down. I just feel really, really ill. And I take some quite strong painkillers, and it doesn't really touch it, if I'm honest. And ironically, it's then also quite difficult to sleep because the pain keeps waking you up. So you're in a vicious circle. And then I think the other thing that I also find difficult is the isolation that it brings, as I alluded to earlier, because trying to explain all of this to somebody who is not suffering from it, or doesn't have knowledge of it, is really quite a big deal. And what people generally want to do is to solve the problem for you. And what westernized medicine wants to do is to solve the problem with giving you a pill. And fibromyalgia just doesn't respond to that. It is far more nuanced. Sorry, I'm just having a dog. It's okay, he's alive, it's here. He's Martin, he's fine. It's much more nuanced than that. And it's not just about that. It is really about calming our nervous system down and finding a way to be able to find safety in ourselves, even when all around us might not feel safe. So I think there are some significant challenges with fibromyalgia. If I was to summarize them, I would say at the minute, one, this sense of anxiety and overwhelm is constantly, I'm constantly just on the edge. And I've had to sit down. And the reason I decided to do this vlog is because I've got a really tight chest. And I'm starting to get palpitations because an anxiety is rising in me. And that anxiety is rising in me. It's very disproportionate to the reasons why. It's simply, I have one appointment later on this afternoon, one appointment. I have probably 3 errands to do on the way to that one appointment. This is not a big deal. This is coming from a woman who used to hold down, a professional career, actually won a Businesswoman of the Year award whilst at 8 months pregnant with her second child. This is somebody I don't quite recognise. But my anxiety responses are very disproportionate. Even as something as simple as the other day, I cancelled my therapist, my somatic therapist, because I was so overwhelmed by the amount of things that were in the day, and there were just some of the things that were immovable and I couldn't move. And so I was getting in such a state about how I was going to get through the day and how I was going to do all of these things. It was untrue. So I thought, I'll move my therapy. And then again became even more anxious, because although I'd given 24 hours notice, she really would prefer more than 24 hours notice. So then I'm thinking, maybe that's not the therapist for me, because actually I'm really anxious now because I feel judged that I've only given 24 hours notice. And you can hear me running away with this in terms of anxiety. So it's quite a disproportionate response to, just reaching out to tradesmen for little pissy little things that need doing, people that I've known for years, and being worried that they just think I'm a pain in the arse and they're not going to help me do it because, it's just such pissy little things. And so everything brings with it a level of disproportionate anxiety that, you're constantly fighting. And then that leads to this constant fatigue, where you get up, you do a little bit, you lay down, you get back up, do a little bit more, you lay down, because you're just so tired from the nervous system being so overstimulated all of the time. And then when you do get long periods where you can sleep, it's really, really difficult. You never really fall into, when I say you, I'm referring to me. I never really fall into a proper deep sleep because there's background noise in my body all the time. All the time there's background noise, particularly for me at the moment in my lower body. The confidence to step out into the world and actually do something of value is completely shot to pieces, because I don't know from one day to the next, how my health's going to be. I even get stressed about setting up social things to see my friends, because what if I'm not feeling okay? What if I get in the restaurant and, very often if I'm in busy restaurants, particularly if they're bright lights with lots of conversations going on around me, the pain is just horrendous. It's just thudding through the whole of my body. And so it is really difficult and very isolating, because to the outside world, I just look normal. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with me. I have, a very blessed, beautiful life that I am very grateful for. At the same time, I've worked very hard for. So, there's that question of, why do you feel like this? Why are you anxious? And this genuine lack of awareness and understanding of just how debilitating fibromyalgia can be. And trying to explain that then makes me anxious, because then I'm thinking, do I sound like a hypochondriac? And so this vicious wheel continues. So I've put in the link to this vlog, a link to an article that I wrote, which summarises every single thing I've learned about fibromyalgia and all of the different things I'm doing. The things that I get the most value from: deep tissue massage, which does give me pretty much immediate relief. Sauna and heat therapy gives me a great deal of relief for my pain. The somatic therapy I do think is very, very good, but I think that is a long-term road, and it's a bit of an act of faith, because I don't know what's at the end of it. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think somehow intuitively, just at a primal level, I know that it's something I just need to stick with. I'm still taking nerve blockers before I go to bed to try and dial down the noise. So God knows how much pain I'd be in if I wasn't taking them. And in the morning I take still muscle relaxants to stop my muscles tensing up so much. But I have to say, I've been taking them for a few months now, and I think their effectiveness is probably waning as my body gets used to them. So I'll have that discussion. It's actually my menopause consultant who's treating me for this, because the rheumatologist who would normally treat you if you get what's referred to on at all, I think from the conversations I've had and what I've read, a lot of people are actually just being treated via their GP, which is fair enough if your GP knows about this stuff. It's just classic, isn't it? Fibromyalgia doesn't even really have a place in our Western medicine structure. We understand it so little. So this isn't the most uplifting of vlogs, but I think for those out there that are also going through the same journey, I think it's nice to have a safe space where we can just share the trials and tribulations, because we can empathise, we can see and understand what's happening to each other. And I would hope that we don't have to worry about judgment, because you wouldn't be watching this if you weren't either interested or suffering from fibromyalgia, my guess is. Therefore, I feel less anxious and worried about judgment, in the belief or hope that I'm sharing it with that safe community, because if you have fibromyalgia, I think you'll get exactly what I'm saying. And I'm not sure what the answer is in terms of how we make it easier to operate in the outside world, or whether in fact the other perspective we could offer is that the thing is not to worry about operating in the outside world so much, because much of, and I do genuinely still believe this, much of, I think, my fibromyalgia and what's caused it has been, you could argue, a reasonable response to unreasonable circumstances that I've either witnessed or been a part of. And actually the world, if fibromyalgia is fundamentally about our nervous system, and the fact that at the heart of it, if you're in fight or flight mode, you effectively don't feel safe, then I would say right now in the world, I think there's probably good reason not to feel safe. And I'm really torn, because I'm an activist at heart. I would normally write and vlog about all of the stuff that's going on to try and help people see the true facts. And I find myself unable to do that, because getting too involved in everything that's going on is really overwhelming me. It's really overwhelming me, and my fibromyalgia is kind of acting as either a barrier or a boundary. It's interesting, isn't it? Which one of those is it? But then, there is the whole guilt thing of, all it takes for evil to prosper is for good people to do nothing. And so I'm constantly swinging between allowing fibromyalgia to be a boundary and creating a safe space, and viewing it as a barrier, and actually being disappointed in myself that I'm not doing more to try and change things in the world. So that's an ongoing debate within myself. So I hope this can be of help to others, if nothing more than just to say, me too. You're not on your own. You're not going mad. You're not imagining things. This is just a very brutally honest and far too long as normal update on life with fibromyalgia. Lots of love.